So you've been perhaps wondering why police chiefs in every state, constables, sheriffs, local cops, nobody will help you. And at times you're even being harassed by the same people that you believe are here to uphold your constitutional rights. You're documenting entrapment. You're documenting in some states the FBI doing this, InfraGard, DOD partners, defense contractors with massively large shares with news companies, which we watch. So this all helps promote narrative control. I'm all for the Constitution, the flag, patriotism. But the truth is that within this country, the deep state shadow government has loopholes to conceal human trafficking. They will not expose each other. And if it involves a defense contractor, a veterans group, a Freemason as a partner with the government or police, they will conceal it, no matter how good of a person they are. It's the truth. I can go biking right now and get harassed by a veteran. And if I go to cops, they'll conceal it. I can go out and go biking and get harassed by an 8A business vendor, and they will conceal it. And I can prove it through DVR camera hats, DVR camera watches, cell phones I've had it clamped onto my side, recording everything, even the police officer's face, and everything is timestamped in every state. And it shows DOJ. It shows Citizens Corps, municipality workers. Mayor Steve Adler, Leslie Poole in Texas, they didn't help me. I went to them, and I was harassed by local cops. The local fire department with Citizens Corps called the Fire Corps program. Not all these groups are corrupt like police departments or fire departments, but some are. And when you go to them, by law, they have to conceal this or they can lose their job because it'd be violating national security laws. They can lose their pension, their marriage. So it's not worth it. There's no incentive for them to be honest about these matters, even though it defies the Constitution. So there is a clear loophole in our system, which allows the powers that be to crap on us, and then they're forced to lie and conceal it, knowing on threat assessments what these activities are linked to.
2009, when I caught that child trafficking payment, they were using this number language. And it was this letter right here that said, as of January 23rd and 88,000 that triggered me. Because then I went and got my grandmother's numerology books. My grandmother was an Eastern Star, and I cracked this number language, right? And that's how I caught the child traffickers. And I sent it to the police, but the police in Nashville harassed me. So I moved to Breckenridge because everybody was trying to kill me in Nashville. And guess what happened? I got swatted. I got thrown in a cage. They tried to kill me in a cage, right? Every single court, the 5th District, Colorado Court of Appeals, the Colorado Supreme Court, the U.S. District Court Denver, and the 10th Circuit Court, they have all gotten this letter. They've all gotten my child trafficking stuff. 2013, I sent everything to Kamala Harris. She was Attorney General, right? And here's the letter she sent me back. Oh, we can't do this. We don't have the money. You got to do it civil, right? Kamala Harris, Attorney General, covered it up. Every court, every cop, every attorney general, every senator, every regulatory agent I have given this child trafficking information to have covered it up. So what did they do? They took my kid. Why? Because these are the same courts and cops in the family court system that are covering up for all the people in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Do you get it yet? And they speak in numbers. They speak in numerology. And I've given it to everybody, including Dora 3 times during official audits, Department of Regulatory Colorado, and they all cover it up. So what do? So they take my kid because they're trying to entrap me and throw me in jail again. Yeah, because that is why nobody is prosecuted in the Epstein case. Because the courts, the cops, the attorney general are the one trafficking kids. And guess what? 6 months ago, the FBI called me and said, we want to talk to you about your social media. And I said, well, I want to talk to you about this child trafficking case I caught in 2009 that was front page LA Times that you guys investigated. I was a stockbroker on that account. Let's open it up and talk about these child traffickers because it's directly connected to Attorney General Kamala Harris, which is directly connected to Epstein because her sister, Maya, worked with Epstein. Yeah. Kamala Harris, all these people, oh, you should have elected Kamala Harris. No, she's a child trafficker too, people. And I can prove it with the numbers. If you want to stop child trafficking, sign, share, and promote the Full Disclosure Act. And guess what else? Learn this fucking number language, right? It's all on my websites. And don't act like you don't know, because most of you do. And that's the real reason why the courts don't do anything about child trafficking, because almost everybody is part of the cult of ball. Sign, share, and promote Full Disclosure Act.
Grandma, give you some water. Grandma, try, Grandma. You're just weak. You have to have water, Grandma. You have to be strong. Have some more, Grandma. I moved here to Central Florida around 2018 because I was being harassed relentlessly by the Citizens Corps programs, the local FBI field office, the Fusion Center, select members of Citizens on Patrol, a few people tied to a group called Community Solutions, members of the local Northern Command, National Guard, working under an MOU agreement with Citizens Corps and the Fusion Center. I started getting harassed by cops. I started getting harassed by block watch captains, 8A business vendors, and hordes of ex-military, the University Office of Community Engagement. And when I would arrive to a place, I would be harassed at places where I ate, where I walked, and where I worshiped. And I noticed a systematic pattern where I was being harassed by first responders in Texas. So I relocated here, and then all of a sudden, I noticed this bizarre pattern where I'm being harassed by veterans. And when I ran their tags, I found out they're all ex-military. They're business vendors. They work for government contractors. They're school teachers, homeowners, business owners. And things started making sense because in prior states, I was harassed by these types of people, and especially a lot of Jewish people. When I lived in Austin, Texas, I reached out to Mayor Steve Adler. He ran the ADL. He was also the director. And I sent him a letter letting him know that I moved here because I was being harassed by Jewish people in a prior state after uploading a video about a company called the Zim Israeli Shipping Company. I shared the pen that was found by a relief worker. Never made accusations saying they were behind it. Just shared my thoughts. And then all of a sudden, I was targeted by Jewish people with ties to the municipality. My city commissioner was Leslie Poole at that time. She was really of no help. And I thought after talking to these people, I would not be harassed by municipality workers in that district. I was harassed where I ate, at shopping centers. Not one person ever knocked on my door and said, "Hey, how can we help you solve this?" Instead, I was harassed by police. And when I went to police, they refused to help and redacted my reports. When I reached out to the NSA, FBI, CIA, no response. Phones were just slammed, no response at all. DOJ was also really into concealing these activities, so they refused to help along with the county attorney. So I documented harassment in the same exact manner here. The video show ex-Marines in Tavares, Florida, Sheriff Association partners, a few select cops, harassment at places where I eat food at, local neighbors and business vendors harassing me and honking horns, flicking me off and throwing trash where I walk for years, even when I arrive into Lakeland, Florida and different counties. This is not an investigation. It's a harassment campaign. If I move to any state or any other county, and I go through this where I'm harassed by veterans, business owners, school teachers, the same crap, people that are active duty or ex-Army, no, fellow TIs, that I wasn't lying to you. I've documented this pattern in every single state. I've relocated in hopes of just getting away from this, not to be harassed and slandered in the same exact manner. So I've been living now in Clermont, Florida for 7 years. If I move anywhere else and I document this outside of the country, which I have in the past, that means I'm dealing with the same clandestine group. And when I lived in Texas, my grandfather, which worked for the DEA, stated I was dealing with the Central Intelligence Agency. And they would slander me and utilize veterans. And they would utilize people as fall guys. Also, these people will use attractive women and they'll bring people in to harass you. They may brief cops, sheriffs, deputies, and then they'll use these NPCs, these contractors, which will harass you, and then they'll come in like they're there to de-escalate. They may flirt with you and then walk out with them. And you may notice this state by state. These perpetrators are easily noticed. They love to wear black clothes, drive black cars, they operate on bases, and they love to outsource to people which are involved in diversity and inclusion. They will utilize strategies based on learned helplessness and no-touch torture. Your local police departments will not help you. Your municipality cannot help you. And your local police and every single police department in any town or city by law have to redact the fact that you documented an encounter with a federal agent if you have proof. So to make you look bad and to conceal this, according to one of my friends, which works for law enforcement up north, that actually documented one of these cases, can't mention his name online, he stated that they're told to put down that these people which talk about these things are all mentally ill, and that they received a memo years ago from the FBI stating to put this down. This helps to conceal these acts and allows it to occur. When they investigated the allegations of the person that was complaining, they found out that he was 100% correct. He was being targeted. Not only did he not lie, he had proof he was being targeted. I'm targeted when I least expect it. I could leave my house at 6:12 p.m. with my family to go to Taco Norteno or a Mexican restaurant in Groveland or Maitland, Florida or Mount Dora, and I could be harassed upon arrival by a veteran tied to a local veterans group or somebody that lives in Tampa that's lingering around the area getting per diem and targeting people for money. A lot of times they're retired veterans, they're elderly women, they're middle-aged women, and they operate in groups like a pack of wolves. And they just harass you upon arrival to a gas station when you least expect it, during the middle of a meal, or it could happen right when you're finishing your meal at the very moment. And then they may give a person money, a waiter or hostess, without eating there. They may just drink a cup of water and give them a large bill and then walk out with you. So when you look at Operation Chaos and COINTELPRO, what you see is that these operations were solely based on the promotion of terrorism, the promotion of violence, while the perps, the true terror threats, were like, we love America, we're the good guys. And I'm not saying the FBI is a terrorism threat or that the CIA is one, but I am saying this, that when you look at their past, you see a pattern, a practice, which is based on promoting violence and pre-terrorism indicators. If somebody is raped in a community, God forbid, and the rapist is released 3 years later, but there was no rape during that time, society, the community there would say that person had to have done it. And that leads to vigilante justice. In a situation like that, I can understand. So it's the same way with targeting. If you're documenting stuff that was reported during COINTELPRO in Operation Chaos, and you have people that are court subject matter experts saying, this is what's occurring, these are the people doing this, well, wouldn't you most likely believe them, right? Because they have expertise in these types of activities and being able to identify threats like pattern crime analysis and stuff like that. And I've utilized those strategies with TIs to share different things to find out where are these perps coming from. And then when I investigate, I find out they come from a fusion center, they come from a 8A business vendor, a Jewish group, a Masonic group, a VFW, American Legion, some type of order that's secretive and that they're earning money. Then I start putting two and two together through private investigations, court subject matter experts, crime pattern analysis. Also, I save recordings. In every state, I reach out to the FBI, NSA, CIA, county attorneys, DHS. I recorded them, most of them slamming phones in every state and not responding to Privacy Act requests. So all those things present indicators of not only concealment and collusion, especially when you see active duty army in every state in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, active duty. Now, what the heck were active duty military and people that are transgender and LGBT doing, giving me a hard time? I don't hang out in gay bars. So it just seems all so bizarre, and it's very clear that these activities go back to the system when you clearly see that by law, cops have to conceal these activities. So the people I've dealt with are clearly making over six figures. They're clandestine. They love black clothes, black SUVs, black cars, or white cars. They outsource to veterans, elderly people. They can access military bases, the FBI. They're working in some FBI facilities as joint partners. For some reason, I've documented a lot of Virginia tags, U.S. government tags, confirmed links to black ops groups, Israelis. At one time, people that are British harassed me in stores upon arrival. And it used to be every day, all throughout the day. And when I went to cops, they would never help. So this means that your constitutional rights are void when you're targeted. Hello, TIs. Right now I'm driving to a place called Pillars. I rarely go there. It's probably about a half an hour drive from my house. It's in a town called Winter Garden, in Florida. I went to a place called Pillars to have one martini. And I was with a relative. Pillars has a front door and a back door, and I noticed a guy come to the back door wearing a suit and a black tie. He orders a drink right next to me. Didn't think nothing of it. Once he grabs his drink, he looks at me and whistles one time with a very serious face. He walks away and he takes a seat. Then I see a man come in through the front door. The exact moment he sits down. He orders a drink, he gets his drink, he looks at me, he whistles one time, and sits right across from the guy wearing the black suit. The next day I go visit my grandmother in a retirement center. The guy comes to the retirement center and flashes a badge. I get my pass, I put it on. When I go to my grandmother's room, this guy is outside my grandmother's room, and he just stands there and whistles one time. I ignore it because my grandmother is a stroke victim. Right now she's recuperating. So when I leave after an hour, I see this guy in a vehicle looking serious. I didn't argue with him. I got into my vehicle and drove off. The next day I go shopping with one of my relatives to buy food for my grandmother to make her a soup because she can't chew because of her stroke. And I'm at a place called, I think it's called the Keys store or something like Keys Food. And I'm in this line getting a food plate while my relative is shopping, and she comes back and I notice two guys walk in the store. They don't look at any products, and they don't look at anything in the deli where I'm at, and they just stand next to me, and they're both like this, facing face to face, having a conversation. It seemed a little iffy, like a little odd. So the exact moment the attendant or the deli area gave me my plate, the guy looks at me and whistles one time, and then he walks out with his partner. They don't look at nothing, they don't buy nothing. Prior to this, I went to a place called The View in Clearmont, Florida. It's a golf course. I was there having a martini, a dirty martini with my family. We're buying the most expensive things they have. We're enjoying the ambiance. Guy comes in, walks up to my table and whistles one time. Doesn't buy nothing, doesn't talk to nobody. He walks out. An hour later, we go to the car, and I see the same guy that walked up to me and whistled in a black SUV with a woman parked right next to me. He had reversed into the parking lot, and I see a car across the other side of the parking lot, right across from my car, another car that had reversed in, and they had a black SUV also. A guy gets out, he looks at me, he whistles, he exits the vehicle and goes right back in after whistling. So then I go to my oncologist. She's a cancer specialist. It's right next door to Lake Sumter Community College in Clearmont, Florida. Two ladies pull in, and I go visit my doctor, and I see that these ladies were intensely staring at me upon arrival. So while I'm seated in the lobby, their eyes are locked on me. So the exact moment they called my name, they get out of the vehicle, but versus coming in through the front, they knock on a side door. When I exit my doctor's office, they're on both sides of the door and they walk out. And then I hear a loud whistle sound, and then they leave and get in their car and take off. I started noticing this pattern at Lake Sumter Community College. It would be quiet. You would hear chit-chatter. And it would be a guy wearing a suit, and then the exact moment I would stand up after an hour of doing legal research online by accessing their Wi-Fi, this guy would stand up and whistle and walk out with me. Well, one day I was at the Lake Sumter Community College, and this guy started to go boom, boom on my desk. I looked at him like he was crazy. I didn't ask him to stop, not because I was scared or anything, but because I wanted people around to see how this guy was acting. And he kept doing this crap multiple times, and people kept saying, "Sir, stop it, please, stop it," like 15, 20 times. He did not care. So I go to the 7-Eleven gas station right down the road from Lake Sumter Community College. It's probably about a 1-minute drive. That's where the public library is at. The cancer specialist, of you. And this guy, he walks up to me. Let me go back. When I arrive, I see a red car pulling in, and I see him get out of his vehicle. And when you go into that 7-Eleven down the road from Lake Sumter Community College in Clearmont, Florida, I see him standing on the right side of the door where you put your numbers for your lotto tickets. So he's just standing there. The exact moment I walk in, he looks at me and whistles one time. He follows me and grabs the same item. And when I'm in line, he looks at me and whistles intensely. And he just looks at me and starts laughing. That same night, I go with my family to a place called the Tiki Bar to have a candlelight dinner. We had a meal out there. A lot of families go there. And a guy's urinating about 20 feet from my family. And a group of guys come. They're all wearing these backpacks that look 100% identical to what I seen the Austin, Texas Fusion Center wearing. And the bartender there, she knew me because I would go there twice a week and have a hamburger. And she told me they're all active duty military. Well, one of them came up as National Guard. And they were staying at a house as a group, and every time I would arrive there in the past, they would show up in a very intimidating manner. But I shrugged it off as just being a coincidence. But one of the guys from that group walked up to my family's table and went, "Sss." And they were saying, I could hear the people in this group saying, "Don't do it." They were in the bar area. We were where people have candlelight dinners. We have not gone back there again. Then I go to a Mexican restaurant right next door to the Groveland City Hall. And a Mexican guy is a new guy, applied for a job and got a job there that day, according to the waiter. When I get my food, because every Friday and Saturday I would go there. So he arrives as I do to clock in, and I order my food. And once I get my plate, he whistles right over my food, and I'm like, "Sir, I can't eat that now. Spit particles are on that. That's disgusting." So I've never eaten there again. A group of people came into the restaurant while my family and I were eating food that day. And they would turn back and look at us and whistle one time. Most of these people were extremely white. They all had black and white cars. When we go outside, we see black and white cars. The next day, that waiter quit his job. One of the waitresses there liked me. We weren't dating. We were just friends. We would chit-chat here and there because she used to live in northern Florida, and I did too. She was really into the church. So that guy quit the next day. The next day, I take a walk nearby downtown Clearmont, Florida. It's about I would say about a half a mile from Hiawatha Park. There's a little bridge. I park my car in this patch of grass where some trees are at, where locals park. And I walk about a quarter of a mile. My back was hurting. I was wearing a back brace that day because I have a bad spinal injury. It's called quada equina. And I don't want to be paralyzed or
lose functions. Anyway, so I'm walking and I don't see nobody the whole entire way. And once I'm walking back to my car, I see that waiter, and he's walking up to me, and he comes to a complete stop, and he goes, psst, and then he walks back to his vehicle. So then a guy from New York moved in next to my house. And he looked at me one day and says, hey, you don't mind cutting my grass? I'll pay you some money. I told him, man, I can't be doing that stuff. Maybe like 25 years ago, I got a back injury. And he didn't know how old I was. He thought I was a little young kid. So my mom was 50 years old. So he paid a cop. He's a cop 2 houses down from my house. Nice guy. Matter of fact, this cop will tell you there's been 2 shootings at my house. No crime rate where I live, no homeless, no HUD housing. There have been 2 times that I exited my car and a gun went off, and they had to call the cops. He's been living there before I moved in there. He lives 2 houses to the right of me. He always has a police car parked out in front of his house. Nice guy. Never had an issue with him. So this guy moves in from New York about a year ago, and every time I'm raking my yard, he would walk outside and have his head held down and go, tss, and then walk back in his house. Really weird crap. And then when I look out the window, I can see 3 houses to the left of me is a pink house that some Mexicans live in. Then you have a house next to him, and another one, there's 2 black families, and then I think it's a white family. And there was a few times where I would exit the house, and the exact moment I would exit, somebody would exit and whistle one time and go back in. It was real weird. Then I go biking, and my battery got low. And I was about a quarter mile from my house, and I see an old man that I'd never seen before in the area. Car passes by me and honks the horn around the area that he was, I guess, dropped off at, I assume, because the road curved, the trail curved there. So he walks up to me and whistles one time. He comes to a complete stop. The first week I moved here to Florida in 2018 to get away from the harassment in Texas, it was the same thing. An old man carrying a gun. He looked properly dressed. He had a long nose. He looked Jewish. He was an older guy, parks next to my family as we arrived, and he starts speed walking right next to us, and he looks at me and goes, psst, and then he walks back to his car. So he took like a 78 feet walk. He walked about 78 feet is what I calculated it when I utilized my golf range finder thing. 78 feet. And I started noticing bizarre stuff where I would go to this place to walk at to watch the sunset. And then once I arrived, there'd be somebody that was ex-U.S. Air Force and they'd park next to my vehicle. And let's say that, let me see if I can give you guys an example. Oh, I locked my windows. I put it down. Let's say from my car's at to that bush right there, like here's the parking lot. And I would walk to the beginning of that trail where the bush is at, and she would jog, do an about face, whistle one time, and then jog back to her car. She would literally take like a 22-foot walk, like maybe like an 8-second jog. And I noticed this pattern that they would stop and whistle. In Texas, they would harass me upon arrival to places. I had to pause the video for a moment. For those that are trying to quit smoking, utilize this product called On. It's great. You don't got to spit nothing out. It's not dip. It's just a nicotine pouch. I quit smoking cigarettes in 2018, and now I can breathe better. So in a little while, I'm going to go to a place called Pillars. It's in Winter Garden, Florida. And last time I went there, I had a really weird experience. I don't know if it's going to happen again. Also, I had a weird experience at the largest brewery in Winter Garden. I go there with my family, and there's an outside area towards the very front. And there's a little bar on the side of it. A lot of families were there that day, and I was there with my family. So there was 3 tables empty in front of us. And these people come, they don't eat or drink. And one lady sits over here, one over here, and one over there. And every time I took a sip, this guy would look at me and go, tss. Every time I took a sip. So when I left, I forgot my hat, and I went back to get my hat, and the guy whistles off the top of his lungs. When I get to my car, there's 3 cars with no tag. Then I go to a nature preserve in Winter Garden, Florida. I think it's the only one. I forgot the name of it. They even have a little museum there. It's a nature preserve that has a boardwalk. It's the only one that goes to Lake Opaka. It's right off of the West Orange Bike Park Trail, and it's next to a church. It's a pretty nice little park to go walking, take your family if you ever come in this area. So I get a stingray alert, and when I start walking on the walking trail, I notice something really odd. I see a guy wearing a black suit and a black tie, and I see a lady that's real attractive, and she pulls out a camera out of the bag, and then once I walk by, she just takes a picture of me. The guy wearing the suit, he looks at me and whistles one time, so I didn't think nothing of it. When I get back to my car, I notice a car with no tag. So then I had a relative that relocated, and every time I would go to see her, something really weird would happen. Her parking space would be taken only when I visited her. And somebody would go up the other stairs wearing a black suit and whistle one time. So she moved after 3 years. And I got a stingray alert. She had moved into this place, and 2 cars, exact model and year as mine, come in here. And every time I would go outside, they would come in and go out. And I would get the stingray alert at a KFC. It was really weird. My phone would get really hot, and then all of a sudden, when I would go outside, I would get a stingray alert, and then they would rush from the KFC and come right through here, honk the horn, and drive out. They had the same year model of car as mine. They never parked here, and this happened 4 different times I came. Really weird shit, fellow TIs. Well, down the road from here is one of the largest car distribution centers, and one day I pulled off the road, I got a phone call. And I see people behind me with curly earpieces, and I pull off the road, and they pull and drive around me. And I have videos of it, where they have no tag. They had curly earpieces in their ear. It's called like Marnique or something. It's like right past Winter Garden. It's a massive car distribution center. It's the largest one here in Orlando.
When I lived in Austin, Texas for 5 years, I documented systematic harassment that was based on no-touch torture, clandestine activities, and mobbing. And these people were overly zealous. Local police wouldn't help me. Department of Justice wouldn't help me. The police chief wouldn't help me. The local judge. The local FBI field office. I got sick of it. And I started reading books on counterterrorism and national security. I reached out to foreign governments. I was reading books on active shooter prevention. And when I reached out to people that were court subject matter experts, they started telling me that the people you're dealing with, they're not domestic terrorists. They are the government. So like, look, these 3 guys work at the local army base. These people work at the Northern Command facility over here. These people work for an LGBT group. These people work at the post office. These people over here work for a disadvantaged veteran-owned business. These people work for DOD. These people are known for working for the NSA. These people are known for working for DHS. And the list kept going on. FBI, DOD, DHS, Fusion Center, Citizens Corps, local veteran groups. I felt so disgusted. And on a daily basis, I was harassed by these people, which were very sadistic. They loved wearing black clothes. They drove black SUVs. I documented clandestine activities, diversity and inclusion, radical feminism. And one day I reached out to a relative and I sent all this information, and he had a top secret clearance. And guess what came back? The Central Intelligence Agency, the FBI, the United States Army, DOD, Jewish people. And I didn't get bitter towards Jewish people where I hated them. I'm not a racist person, but I was disgusted because I'm thinking, here I am, I'm Hispanic, and I'm being harassed for years by Jewish people, by people that have U.S. flags outside their homes. And then I started hiring people to see their connections. None of them had Hispanic friends. These were people that were just in it for a buck. The majority were just a bunch of white guys and white women that were ex-military, ex-army, LGBT, transgender, or BLM, tied to a university, Office of Community Engagement, small business incubator, trying to get a buck. And when I seen that, fellow TIs, that people within our government would do this for money, and then the police by law would have to conceal it due to national security laws, I started seeing the immense fraud within our system. And I started seeing people as trash, like pure trash. And I'm not talking about people as a whole, I'm talking just people in general. I'm talking about people that would harass me while eating a meal with my family. And for 5 years, I went out to eat with my family 3 or 4 times a week. And every time I ate out with them, I was harassed in the bathroom, when I was during the middle of a meal, or when I was paying for the bill, when I was arriving. It was crazy. And they were using Jewish people. They were using the most trusted sectors of our government. And when I reached out to Mayor Steve Adler, which worked for he was the mayor, nobody responded back, not even the Texas state governor. I documented Freemasons, fellow TIs. We need to look to see, is the Texas state governor a Freemason? Is the state attorney a Freemason? Was the judge at the time a Freemason? Because I documented Freemasons. I documented people from different religious groups, Catholics, Baptists. I mean, it was people from all walks of life which were just seeking a buck. And it was very disappointing because at one time I used to preach in churches. And to see Christians doing this, to see Jewish people doing this, to see people from Langley, Virginia doing this, and to be impacted by the same crap state by state, and to know that the military has to know about these activities, because this is how I know they know about them. The videos show active duty military, National Guard here in Florida, and Texas active duty Army. So Department of Defense's Joint Chiefs of Staff in that in the prior administration has to have somebody that knows about this. Because why would somebody do this to me in U.S. schools, in libraries, gas stations, where I eat with my family? What I'm documenting is only stuff that a national security threat would do, a domestic terrorist. If I was to do this to any cop or any FBI agent, I'd be placed on a terrorist watch list. So how the hell do they get away with this crap?